All right, I just checked out this movie called Last Seen Alive. Boy. So we're in the car with this couple by the name of Will and Lisa. So I guess their marriage been having some problems or whatever like that. Bottom line is they come from Manchester, and he's going to be dropping Lisa off at their parents' house. Now they're about 5 minutes away, but they gotta go get gas at the gas station. So as he's filling up the gas, Lisa goes in there to get some water. So Will's filling up gas, but he has his back turned. He's on the phone talking to this dude named Nate about some type of contract or whatever like that. So Will's job, he's like a designer. I guess he goes around fixing up landscape or whatever like that. So while his back is turned, Lisa's coming out the gas station. Some dude starts talking to her. This big ass truck pulls up blocking the way, so it's blocking the view. Next thing we know, Lisa's gone without Will knowing it. So Will goes to the gas station. He's checking everywhere, the bathrooms and whatnot. He still can't find his wife. He talks to the gas station attendant. This dude's named Oscar. And Oscar acting like he ain't know shit because so many other customers come through there, right? He checks around the whole gas station. He starts getting nervous. He's like, shit, I'm about to call the cops. He calls the cops. The cops tell him to wait there. You know what I'm saying? They go get somebody in the APB or whatever like that. However long it's going to take. They're going to get there as soon as possible. So instead of Will just sitting around waiting, he ends up driving over to her parents' house. Now he's thinking to himself, she might have got there. But the thing is, they're about 5 miles away from the house, from the gas station. It's like, fuck, what's she going to do? Walk over there? So he meets up with the parents. Of course, the parents ain't seen her. So then he goes back to the gas station. Because they couldn't get no officers right there, Detective Schiff comes up there himself. Now, Schiff goes inside the gas station. He talks to Oscar. Now, he wanted to ask him for the camera footage, but Oscar tells him the footage ain't been working for like the last 2 weeks because nobody came to fix it, right? So then detectives ask Will if Lisa left anything around, whatever like that. So he gives the detective Lisa's purse and a laptop because that was still in the car. So he's about to go back to the station. So you think to yourself, what the fuck is Will going to do? Just sit there? So then Will looks up above the gas pumps, and then we find out he sees a couple of cameras up there and they're flashing. So the cameras are working. This motherfucking Roscoe, goddamn Oscar lying and shit. So Will ends up beating the shit out of Oscar and gets the CCTV footage. He takes it back to the detective and says he borrowed it. So to check out the footage, they see Lisa talking to this guy. And then that's when the big 18-wheeler truck comes through and blocks their view. And next thing you know, after the truck leaves, there's no car there. It's gone. But they do have a glimpse of the guy and the car. So Will puts that picture in his phone. And then Detective Schiff wants to talk to him one-on-one. He starts asking him questions about his marriage and all types of stuff like that. You know, trying to get some information on how all this came about. Now, Will is very high-strung, very hyperactive. But of course, anybody be in this situation. His fucking wife is missing. But they don't think nothing of it. They let Will go about his business. So then Will ends up going back to the parents' house. He shows them the picture of the man in the car. It turns out they know who this man is. Some dude goes by the name of Knuckles. Because he actually did some construction on their parents' house a while ago. So before he was asking her about friends and stuff like that, because you gotta think, this is Lisa's hometown. So then when the parents look at the car, it's some spot they know is in Morrison's. So that's where Will is headed off to. So while Will is headed out to see Knuckles, Schiff comes to the parents' house with the footage. And he also found something on the laptop. Turns out, she had these back and forth text messages from this dude named Clint. Now, Clint is the guy that Lisa cheated on Will with. Honestly, this part don't have anything to do with the story. I just wanted to fill you in because that's what happened. Anyway, Will confronts Knuckles. Knuckles acting like he don't know shit, so bottom line, Will gotta get this nigga to business. So he beats this man up, ties him up with duct tape, looks around the house, see if he can find anything. He ends up finding a gun. So he picks that up, picks up the crowbar that he came in with. But before he threw Knuckles in the trunk, Knuckles told him that some guy named Frank told him to do the shit. He gives him the location, then he gets tossed in the trunk. Now, as he's speeding to get there, a cop ends up pulling him over. So we're like, yeah, this shit don't look good. You got Knuckles in the trunk, his gun in your pocket, and a crowbar in there. So as for his license and registration, the cop comes back. He's like, hey, can you get out the car for a minute? Then the cop keeps looking at the back. He's like, hey, yo, can you pop the trunk? So when the cop turns around, Will dips off into the woods. He's like, fuck that shit. Now, he's dipping off in the woods, but he's still got the GPS on his phone showing him the direction he needs to go to find Frank. He ends up going to this walkway. We ends up seeing this guy. He's like some type of bodyguard or whatever on the street. He tells him he's doing some type of job for Frank. Hesitant at first, but then he tells him to walk down a certain road. He walks down the road. He ends up seeing this compound, a bunch of little broken houses or whatever like that. There's a couple little people running around. Basically, it's Frank's compound. Then you see Frank. We're like, oh, that's him. So in between that, Detective Schiff went back to the gas station to try to find Oscar. Some other dude's working there. Apparently, it's his shift now. So as Will's go through the compound, another car pulls up. There's a couple other dudes along with Oscar. So he already knew what the fuck time it was. So you see inside one of the compounds, we find out these guys are cooking up meth and whatnot. Some bootleg Breaking Bad shit. He ends up going through the lab and confronting Frank. Of course, Frank acting like he don't know shit either. So he's supposedly about to lead him to his wife. They open his door up, but somehow they end up trapping Will back there and shit. Eventually he gets back out, they start the shooting. But Will accidentally kills Frank. Now he's like, fuck, how the hell am I gonna find Lisa? Then we get to the scene where the cops find Will's car, Detective Schiff is there, and he talks to Knuckles. Then we find out what Knuckles said on the footage. He basically lured Lisa there to try to give her an invoice or something like that, without all the times that he, helped out and worked with his parents and whatnot. But when the 18 pulled her in front of the view or whatever like that, he basically snatched her up, pulled her in the car, and dipped off. Now, why did he do this? Because they was trying to kidnap her and get like $20,000 or some type of ransom or some shit like that, right? Because apparently Will was doing so good, he was going to try to get him to pay the ransom. But then he tells the cops he's probably already dead. So we're like, why the fuck would she already be dead? So apparently Frank wanted Knuckles to kidnap her, but not in front of the goddamn gas station because he's thinking to himself, yeah, their cameras probably work. And he didn't want that being brought back to his place, especially where he's cooking up meth and shit. So Frank basically wanted Knuckles to get rid of her, so he basically told him to dig a hole. But he was too scared to finish her off, so he ran. But apparently Frank and him still had possession of her, so that's why Knuckles thinks she's probably dead. Meanwhile, Will's searching the compound trying to find Lisa. All of a sudden, he's face to face with Oscar. Now, Oscar's standing right outside the compound. Will's on the other side. Both of them got guns drawn on each other. Now, obviously, Oscar was involved with, Knuckles kidnapping Lisa and whatnot. He probably has something to do with that 18-wheeler being in the way, you know what I'm saying? So he tells Will he'll tell her where Lisa is if he gets her like $20,000. Now, while all this is going down, we see the compound is actually on fire between the shootout that Will had with Frank. And there's a lot of very flammable chemicals in there, right? So as Will's trying to find a way to give Oscar the money, since he doesn't trust him to go to the bank or something, all of a sudden the compound explodes and Oscar gets blown up with it. So Will's thinking to himself at this point, what the fuck? How the hell am I going to find Lisa now? So eventually the cops end up getting to the compound. Detective Ship is looking around the compound. He finds this little area where there's supposed to be a hole at. I'm like, oh shit. So he goes there, lifts up a bunch of crates or whatever like that. Turns out it's just a hole there. Nobody's in the hole. Will is still looking around in the forest. He ends up seeing this random shed, but he hears like faint noise in the background. Turns out he opens up the shed. Lisa's in there. Hooray! Lisa's still alive. So after all the mayhem, they back at Lisa's house. Will's sitting outside waiting for Detective Ship to show up. Basically telling him that Knuckles is locked up, done deal, case solved. And Will was off the hook, one, because he actually was trying to find his wife Lisa, and two, they found a fucking meth lab. Then Lisa comes out the house. Now apparently Will was supposed to be dropping her off because they was having relationship problems and all that other stuff, but considering everything that happened, Lisa wants him to stay, so he does. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. So there you go. If you missed any movies that had Gerard Butler in it, here you go. Got one for you. Bam.